Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I want to talk about cold and flus and general sickness when you have drug damage, drug reactions, or in withdrawal, whatever you want to call it. I just want to talk about that because I get it. People frequently ask me about this on my channel and on my other social media platforms, what my experience has been, and I just wanted to talk about it and make a whole video about it. But before I start, I want to ask your opinion. There's several withdrawal coaches out there. If you've been in the community for a while, you know who I'm talking about. There's a handful of them out there, and I'm just wanting to know your opinions on them. If you've tried them, if you've maybe had a consultation, if you've had, if you're a repeat client or a regular client, or you've just heard about them or heard of other people using their services, let me know in the comments what the experience has been, because I'm thinking about potentially pursuing that myself, and I just want to know what people's experiences have been, whether they've been helpful, just anything you can tell me about what you've known of other people's experience to be that you know firsthand or your own. So if you could just give me that, I would so appreciate it. But to get back into the video, so as I explained in another one of my videos, if you haven't seen it though, I tend to batch film, so I'll film multiple videos at a time and then I spread out the scheduling. So if you message me and you see a video and you're like, hey, I heard you're doing so good, and I say, actually I'm not doing good, and you say, well, what the heck, I just saw your video yesterday, it's because of that batch filming. So I just wanted to say that it's not that I'm not being honest or being truthful, it's just that the time that I post the content might be different or significantly later than when I filmed it. So if you message me on social media and I tell you what's going on, that's what's going on currently, and this video might be, a week or two old. So I don't do them crazy far ahead, but I do film them somewhat in advance. So in one of my last videos, I think it was the mental symptom video, I was kind of scratching my face and talking about how I was starting to feel some nerve symptoms in my face, and I thought it was because talking about this was bringing up stress in my body and was bringing on symptoms. But what I now believe was happening is I actually had a cold coming on, or a virus coming on, because a day or two later I was experiencing a ton of eye pain, headache, my eyes were all swollen, and then shortly after that I had full-blown congestion, coughing, chills, a sore throat, and people who talked to me were like, you sound absolutely horrible. So I was pretty much in bed. So I went into a pretty extreme wave when that happened, and I'm not really sure, and I don't know if anybody knows for sure why that happens, but it seems to be that people, I know for sure in the benzo community, I'm not sure if it's the same exactly as the antidepressant community. I believe it's similar, maybe at a different level, or maybe the same, I'm not totally sure, but I know in the benzo community, a lot of people have reported that when they have cold or flu, it ramps up symptoms. And I've heard that, the stimulation of the immune system sets off the nervous system, or it could be something to do with, I don't know, toxins or just the virus itself. I don't know, but for some reason they go hand in hand, and that's been my experience. So like I said, when I filmed that mental video, it was about 2.5 weeks ago, I believe, or 3 weeks ago that I filmed that. And shortly after that, I got a pretty extreme full-blown cold, and I haven't actually been that sick since I've gotten akathisia. I have taken antibiotics, but those were pretty much all false alarms, and they were actually not needed. And what was going on at those times was it was nerve pain in my face and actually withdrawal symptoms, and not a sinus infection, because I was mostly having pain and a feeling of swelling in my face during those times I took antibiotics. But this time I had all of the typical symptoms. Everyone in my house was sick. So it was my first experience with a real nasty cold since getting akathisia, and it brought back my symptoms hardcore. So in total, like my whole withdrawal journey, which now has been 5 years this month. So I started antidepressants in 2011, took them for 7 years, was off for 2.5 years, was having all kinds of crazy symptoms I didn't know for a long time were withdrawal, thought I was mentally ill, reinstated, got akathisia, was polydrugged, put on benzos, kept on benzos for 3 months. They went paradoxical, was cold turkeyed off those in the hospital. So it's been a long nightmare, and it's been 26 months now since I've taken anything. So the whole journey from starting or stopping my original antidepressant to now has been 5 long, grueling years. So but my extreme kind of sensitivities and my much more extreme symptoms only started when I did that reinstatement and took benzos. My original SSRI withdrawal was bad enough, but it got much worse when I reinstated and quit again. So the subsequent withdrawal has been much more intense, wasn't able to work, had to go on disability. You can watch other videos to see my whole story. But so this was my first, like I said, full-blown sickness since having akathisia and since my reinstatement. And it was so demoralizing because I had just filmed a batch of videos saying I was feeling, 90%, and that was the truth. That's how I was feeling. I had just taken my daughter swimming and we had a fabulous weekend. I was feeling no symptoms except for like a little bit of tingling and kind of hotness in my face. And then a couple days later, boom, I was super sick. And then all of my extreme mental symptoms, if you've watched any of or if you've watched specifically my mental symptom video, you'll know were very, very, very bad. Constant intrusive thoughts, somatic hallucinations, just absolute, the most demonic, evil, mental things you can even dream up. I had all the time for a very, very long time. And they had been getting so much better. There's lots of times where I can go a full day and barely even notice what's going on in my head. So, and that's how I had been feeling. And then I get this sickness and suddenly the extreme intrusive looping and the hallucinations were back, and I was freaking out, even though at a gut level, when that happens at a gut level, at least when you've been in it as long as I have, okay, this is just a wave. It has a very obvious trigger. It's going to go away. But when you're in the thick of it, it's so hard to believe that, because just like the original withdrawal and the subsequent, first few months of acute withdrawal from the reinstatement and then withdrawal, it was like just constant suffering and I could never see a way out. But somehow, like deep down, I believed I could heal because I had heard of all these stories of these very extreme people healing. But I was always so afraid because my symptoms were so intense and I just could not understand how I could be sick for so long and then one day I would just feel better. But that's exactly what happened. In November of 2022, things started to turn around for me, and I've been getting much more windows than waves, and then the sickness just set it off and brought it all back. And I was so depressed and I was so upset, and I was like, it's just like you've been clinging to life for so long and you get some respite and then it just throws you back. And that's the cruelest part of this process, is there's nothing that I can think of, maybe grief, where it's so up and down and so bumpy, and how you can have setbacks and go right back into it's kind of like grief where, you have that really non-linear healing, and just certain memories or triggers can throw you right back into like you've just lost the person yesterday, even though it's been 2 years. That's like the best analogy I can think of, because there's nothing else really that I know of where you just get thrown back so much. And it's so cruel. And that lasted the whole duration of when I was really sick, which was about 4 or 5 days. I was in a very brutal wave. If you talk to me on social media during that time, I was really struggling. And just like it's happened before, I came out of it. And yesterday I felt fabulous. And today I'm feeling pretty great too. I have a little bit of symptoms, but it's very mild. And I was able to go from 2 years of disability to now I'm just starting to work again, very part-time, because I have to be careful because I'm still set into a wave from stress, lack of sleep, and hormones. So I have to be very careful. But I've come a long way. I've come a really long way. So if you are sick, or I can't speak to COVID specifically. I have been tested several times for COVID throughout my pregnancy and since I've had akathisia, and they've always been negative. So this one I didn't get tested for specifically, but other people in my house that are also sick got tested and it was negative. So I don't think it was COVID. So I can't speak to that specifically, but I know that other viruses and flus, it just seemed, even with COVID, I can't speak to that personally, but other people I talked to who are in withdrawal and very severe, like had akathisia, very dysregulated nervous systems, people who've had extreme experiences with psychiatric drugs have had COVID. And the people that I know fairly well, it did put them into a brutal wave, but they came out of it. And I'm not necessarily talking about people in acute withdrawal. These are people who have made pretty drastic recoveries and got COVID, and it still set them back even years out, but they recovered from that. Same with me. This virus, this sickness was brutal. Haven't been sick like this my whole 26 months off. And it was a wake-up call for me and a reminder that you know, I'm still very sensitive. So if you experience a sickness, you get sick and you get thrown back, don't freak out too much. You will get back to baseline, and I can't say how quick it'll be or how slow it'll be, but you will get back to where you were. So just some encouragement. And I just wanted to chat about that because a lot of people lately have been sick. It's been a pretty brutal winter. It was a brutal flu, cold, COVID season. So that's what the experience has been like for me. It set me right back into acute for about 4 days, but then I came out of it and I feel good now. So yeah, let me know how you guys are doing in the comments, and I'll see you next time.